Donald Trump talks a lot of shit.
No one will dare question, as they have been, because we're very depleted, very, very depleted. Sequester.
Let's edit that. He's a shitty talker. If Trump's banter has you scratching your head, that's a good thing. He's a little depleted in the linguistics department, and it turns out that's not just in our heads, but it could be in his.
Look, having nuclear, my uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay? Very smart. The Wharton School of Finance, very good, very smart. You know, if you're a conservative Republican, if I were a liberal, okay.
Does your head hurt yet? Not only was there a mid-thought subject change, but it's not even a complete idea, let alone sentence. As much as Trump wants us to believe this,
I know words, I have the best words.
He still has a serious syntax problem. And if English speakers are trying to figure out what Trump's saying most of the time, the translators of the world are really struggling with how to decipher his speech. There was this really interesting article in the health publication Stat that reviewed decades of Trump's interviews, because he hasn't always been this way. There was a time when Trump was actually articulate. From interviews with Oprah to Tom Brokaw to David Letterman, Trump made sense when he talked. Check out this interview with Charlie Rose from 1992.
Ross Perot, he made some monumental mistakes. Had he not dropped out of the election, had he not made the gaffes about, the watchdogs and the guard dogs and everybody coming at the house, and, if he didn't have 3 or 4 bad days, and they were real bad days, he could have conceivably won this crazy election.
Okay, so 1, he's always had that unfortunate hair. But also, you guys, he spoke clearly. That was a paragraph of a coherent thought with a beginning, middle, and end. And it was all on the same subject. And he even used a word that was, as he'd call it today, big league. So how do we go from that to this?
When I did this now, I said, I probably, maybe, will confuse people. Maybe I'll expand that, I'll lengthen the time because it should be over with. It should, in my opinion, should have been over with a long time ago.
Numerous studies have shown that cognitive decline and linguistics are connected because fluency of speech sits in the part of the brain responsible for holding things like our memory, judgment, understanding, and planning. That's also where our temporal lobe is, which helps us dig into our memory for the right words. But let's hear from someone who studies this every day.
So it's clear that there has been some reduction in complexity in Trump's speech since the 1980s.
This is Dr. Ben Michaelis. He's a clinical psychologist who has made cognitive assessments for the New York Supreme Court. He's also analyzed hours of footage of Trump's speeches and interviews from the 1980s until today for Stats Report.
Look, in fairness, he's 70, so we would expect there to be some cognitive decline for someone as you reach that age. The way Trump speaks can mean a lot of things about the way his brain functions and how it may have changed over time.
Deteriorating language fluency could also just be linked to being tired, stressed, or angry. All potential side effects of someone trying to run the country into the ground. This could also just be Donald Trump's way of connecting with the people. After all, the average American reads at a 7th grade level.
We're going to build the wall. Don't worry about it. We're building the wall. We're building the wall. In fact, it's going to start soon. Way ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule. It's going to start very soon. General Kelly, by the way, has done a fantastic job. Fantastic job he has done. I read Dr. Seuss' Green Eggs and Ham, and it reminds me of that.
It's not entirely clear. Because these are public appearances, these things could be strategies aimed at a differing crowd. So you can't make a diagnosis, a formal diagnosis, without actually evaluating him.
We might not be able to tell for sure if Donnie's speech patterns are symptoms of something off in his brain or not. But we do know he's always been, well, not very nice. Like when he insults entire countries and then right after says he actually likes them.
I mean, when you look at Japan not paying for the defense, we're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese. I do a lot of business with the Japanese.
We lose almost $500 billion a year with China. I've done a lot of business with China. I think China's great.
If you think Donald Trump doesn't sound very presidential, just remember, he's our president. So I guess that's what presidential sounds like now.